Zordar Talia for this wonderful panel and the moderator. Karan, please join us.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Karan Singh Chhabra. I run a cinema-related talk show over the last 9 years. Have done a couple of films, but above all, I am a cinema lover like all of you. Are you all cinema lovers in the house? Yes. Do we all love cinema? Yes. Do we all love theatricals? Yes. Do we all love watching content on OTT? All right, well, that's what we are here to discuss, and what a fab panel. एक बार इस panel के लिए जोरदार तालियां. I mean, actors who have proved their performances, be it the OTT space or be it the theatricals. Kritika, Jim, Taha, Adarsh, Gaurav, and Sayani. I am very particular about pronouncing her name because she gets upset if you don't pronounce it nicely. Huh? Yes, but your spellings are Sayani. So being a North Indian, I would say Sayani. but then there is an H and an O which is there, and sorry, that's missing, and that's what she taught me. But great performances by all of you, and the content that is being made, huge number of films be it in theaters, huge number of content in OTT, and we have the audiences also, which are huge in number, which are watching this. But my question to you all is, will they both coexist in future? And if yes, how?
Starting with me?
You sat there.
Of course they will. They are already, right? Like, I don't think each medium has its loyal, viewer base. But there's also overlaps, no? I mean, I'm somebody who goes to the cinema to watch certain films, and then I also like watching things in the comfort of my home or on a small screen or when I'm, taking a flight. I think we've been debating and talking about this for a while, but it's kind of evident that all mediums, TV, OTT, cinema, they're all going to coexist and coexist beautifully.
Jim, you have to add to that?
No, I completely agree. I never understand when one thing is presented in conflict with another or as competition to another when, there are many people and there are many different kinds of interest and there are many different kinds of things that people enjoy watching, and so there'll always be a space for theatre and there'll always be a space for theatrical films and there'll always be a space for OTT, in my opinion. When there was television, it wasn't like, will films destroy television? It was like, no, they both will continue to exist in their own ways. That's all I think about it.
And Taha, having done, I think you began your career with a film with Shraddha Kapoor, and now having faced immense success with Hira Mandi. How do you take it?
I have to say that OTT platforms have definitely given a lot of work to all the creative professionals. Initially, when there was just films, there was very limited amount of work, even though we did make about 200 plus films. Many of them were shelved. Only about 60 or 70 films were released per year. But keeping that in mind, now we have that. Plus, we have almost 200 shows being made every year, right? So that doesn't only increase employment, but that also increases storytelling, or the way we show stories to the world. And because of OTT platforms, all of us have gone global. And it's very important, and I do think what they've said is absolutely right. OTT and theatrical releases is like a married couple, right? They might have some differences with each other, but end of the day, they're one. As far as theaters are concerned, it's a mass, communal kind of a setting, whereas an OTT is a more niche market, is where they make project. If it's an original, then they make projects for a certain kind of audience. And all of us sitting over here can take out our mobiles right now and watch. Every one of us can watch something different at this present moment of time. But it's not a communal setting, please.
When you say niche, when you say OTT tends to be more niche, are you thinking about it specifically in terms of alternate kinds of web series that are made particularly in India, or do you think that OTT in general is a niche space?
No, the content that they create,
Okay.
they can target very niche audiences.
Okay. Okay.
Is the and not only by series but also by the originals that they create.
Yeah, but like, so I'm only asking because let's say like a reality TV show, you know, nowadays
Like the
it
Dubai
won't-
Bling or the Bollywood.
Yeah,
Wild,
yeah,
for example, for
exactly.
example.
Like that is a niche. That's pretty as commercial as it gets. So then, that's all. I
But
just
but then
wanted
if you but
clarity.
then if you look at there's this, I think there's this one show with the Kardashians, right? And if you and I right, I might not be watching that show, right? But I do know that a lot of women watch that show, or a lot of I wouldn't do it. I know a lot of women, so I think, I mean, I know I can speak about them. But whoever watches that show, like I said, it's targeting a certain kind of audience, right? And as far as if you look at commercial films, I'm not saying that theatrical films don't target certain kind of audiences, but again, I'm saying that it's a mass people, like let's say 3-2, for example, right? It's not a niche film. It's, of course, it's a commercial film with commercial elements, which broke records and surpassed anybody's understanding of what a film can do. Especially, I wouldn't call it a small budget film, but I would call it a medium budget film, which broke all records. And sometimes even the biggest budget films make nothing, right? But end of the day, those films after a month or two come onto OTT and then gets the next boost or a catalyst to reach more audiences across the globe. And not only that, but they also get languages dubbed. So therefore, you get more audiences to watch it in the dubbed languages. So it's a benefit when they're in coexistence for the creators, for the distributors, and for the audience.
Fantastic. Others, do you have to add to that? And also, like he mentioned that, for example, a massive film like 3-2 on the big screen. Do you think OTT, as an actor, your point of view, do you think OTT looks up to those big screen films as a competitor?
Well, I mean, I'm not the right person to answer that question because I guess people who run those OTT platforms need to think about that. But what I do think is that 6 or 7 years ago, 10 years ago, when Netflix came to India, there were certain kinds of scripts and certain kind of stories that were being supported, and a lot of filmmakers who didn't have the access to make a film that could be a theatrical were finding their voice through these platforms. And I hope that that doesn't disappear. I hope that the purpose with which these platforms came to India, they can still sort of stick to that. Because if platforms also try to do what theatrical films are already doing, then there's no space for experimenting with your stories or trying to tell something that doesn't necessarily, the success of that is not necessarily defined by how much money it's making. I feel like movie making is, yes, making money is important because there are so many people involved and you need to pay salaries and you need to take care of that aspect. But I think it goes beyond that. And I feel like that is what platforms were trying to do. So I just hope that going forward in the future, they continue doing that. And the leadership of those platforms understand that that is essentially the distinction between an OTT platform and a theater, I guess.
Sayani, do you have to add to that?
First of all, hi everyone. Hi. I don't think it's a versus thing at all. It's not really. We have so many channels, platforms that we're all subscribed to, right? One of the things that happened during COVID is during the lockdown was like, oh my God, not one more, because especially for us, you have so many friends who are making shows and films constantly for the OTT platforms. And to be able to watch their work, you had to sort of take another subscription. But it hasn't stopped us from going and watching films in the big screens, right? I do feel, though, that it's an expensive proposition to go and watch a film in theaters anyway. For it's not just the tickets anymore. It's the popcorns and the Pepsis and everything else, which are really expensive. The tickets in itself are expensive, and the conversation we needed to have was the single screen versus the multiplexes, because with the single screens going away, tickets that were available for 40 rupees to 200 rupees are now 1100 rupees or 1500 rupees and more. So for an average audience to go out, and not just alone, but with their friends or entire family, a family of 4, to be able to afford one outing of watching a film, it's not just you're not just going and watching a film, but it becomes an expensive proposition. So that, I think, one needs to be, people who are in charge of multiplexes and running these theaters should be mindful of bringing those things down, so an average Indian person can go and, like all of us, can go and watch a film and watch the film and not have to think of, oh my God, do I have enough money to be able to afford that weekend, So that's number one. Two, for all of us, including myself, sometimes we don't go and watch a film thinking, oh, it's going to come to my living room very soon, So that in itself, I think, can be a deterrent sometimes from going and watching. But, having said that, I know what are the films I'd like to watch on the big screen anyway. For example, Joker has released, right? And I can't wait to have not had the time, but, I'm waiting to go and watch it. I watched a brilliant film called Control that Vikramaditya Motwani has made. I watched it last night, and it's just a masterpiece. It's an incredible film, right? And that film, although it will come on an OTT platform, I really felt after watching the film that that's the film. You might think, oh, it's okay to come on a Netflix, but actually the community sort of viewing experience is required for a film like that, right? So I really hope, and to Adarsh's point here, that when OTTs came into India, their intent was looking slightly different than what it is now. And I mean, it's a much larger discourse, but I really hope that the best thing that happened, by the coming of the OTT platforms was talent was given the limelight, right? If you had merit, if you had a good script, it didn't matter how many followers the actors had or how big the actors were. If they were good actors and they fit the part, they could be cast. Same with your other HODs, which is what is unfortunately not happening at the moment from all the conversations that I hear from my filmmaker friends. So I hope that there is a readjustment made to that part.
Fantastic. Now talking about both the mediums, how many aspiring actors do we have in the house? We all are cinema lovers, but yes, how many aspiring actors? Okay. And how many of us are inspired by their body of work, irrespective of whatever you do in cinema? How many of you? Come on. That's it?
You're threatening.
Why are you all here then? All right, I'm sure there are a lot more people watching us on Geo and on Hungama. My question is, as an actor, what is the difference when it comes to prepare for an OTT series, an OTT original film, and a theatrical film? Or there is no difference? Kritika.
No, I don't think the medium decides the process at all. I think each project has its own challenges, depends on what your part is, what you need to do, whether you need to acquire an accent or some body language. It's basically, I subscribe to the director's process, and it's not like I have different kinds of acting. TV ke liye ye wali and OTT ke liye ye wali and film ke liye ye wali. That doesn't happen. My process is the same, but of course, because the director kind of leads a set and it is his vision, I generally go by what he requires or he or she requires me to do.
Fantastic. And Jim, huge fan of your work in theatrical films, be it Padmavat, and of course I interviewed you for Rocket Boys, a fantastic series. Do you think there is a difference in the way you prepare for OTT films, OTT series, and for theatricals?
No, I don't think so. I think it just depends on the nature of the project, like kind of what she said. Where is it pitched? Is it realistic? Is it stylized? It's a different world doing something with Mr. Bhansali versus with Ram Madhwani, for example. They just have very different styles and different things that they're trying to achieve as a filmmaking style. So consequently, if you were doing acting that was appropriate to Padmavat in Nirja, it would have just looked odd and off. And if I was doing Nirja-like acting in Padmavat, it would have just seemed strange because everyone else is a bit more controlled, a bit more stylized. And then trying to find the truth within that particular style or within that particular system, whatever it may be. With Ram Madhwani, it was really, it was actually really method. He wanted us to go fully method. He didn't want us to talk to other people, come a lot earlier, sit, be completely separated from the rest of the cast, never
aware of that
interact
trend.
beyond that. And so that was the rules of his game, and I was happy to play those by those rules. Whereas in something else that's not required, and doing those extra steps would only actually cause friction on a set, where I'm not talking to anyone because I'm in my character, and everyone else just wants to get through the day because they're tired, and it's irritating. And I shouldn't act like my character because my character is a bit of a dickhead, you know. So like, yeah, like that wouldn't be good, right? So it's kind of like that. Sometimes for OTT, there's just more time and there's more space. So the real difference that I would say, actually there is a difference. Actually, I've just thought of a difference. There is one. There's like, because let's say in Rocket Boys, I have X amount of screen time over X amount of episodes to show the different shades of my character. I don't need to always color each scene with all of those shades. I can leave things to be a surprise later when you are surprised by the character.
Correct.
Whereas in a theatrical, if you have a shorter amount of time to do it, sometimes you need to layer opposites in with each other much earlier in the film so that people can get on the same page as your character and understand who that character is really fast. So now they can be with you, and then you can still surprise them later. But if you want to show all the shades in a limited amount of time, you have to layer them.
Correct.
That's all.
So, like now it is clear that it's not just dependent on the style of the filmmaker; it is dependent on the medium as well.
I guess the duration more
Your
than
duration.
the... Yeah.
Yes. So Taha, would you want to add to that? And how was your prep for Hira Mandi? I think you're still in that character with that mustache on.
What do you mean?
What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? एक बार देख लीजिए.
सब देख रहे हैं.
I think what Jim said is absolutely right. First of all, I feel that education in the craft of acting is very important, and understanding that whatever you learn, whether it be Meisner, whether it be method like Stanislavski, or whether it be whatever, Richard Boleslavsky, Uta Hagen, Tony Barr, whoever you want to learn, once you gather all your arsenal or your artillery, then you know which one to fire when, right? Unless you have that knowledge, you won't be able to fit it in the right place. So I think that when you talk about films, like he said, the duration, it's about 2.5 hours. The character needs to be built in the first 20 minutes. You can then show when the character arc goes on, you know, and transformations happen, then slow and steady, you can keep adding on your different shades, but it's normally very quick. But as far as the series is concerned, you are there for a much longer space of time unless you have a shorter role. But if you don't and you're throughout the series, then you have your emotional through line, or basically your character arc. You have such a long duration, and the audience sticks with you for so much longer that you, like he said, you definitely have more space and time to show your shades, right? But as far as preparation is concerned, I feel that it's very important to get on first on, you know, to first know your lines backwards. Not only your lines, but to know your co-stars' lines and basically every other person's lines, if possible, all right? So that you know what this story is. And the time that you understand and do that is when you condense time, is when you're able to explore. That's my belief, right? I believe when people say that they want to be spontaneous and they don't want to do rehearsals, it doesn't make sense to me. I think rehearsals are very important. Rehearsals will get you, it's just like dance practice, it's like acting, right? So if you practice so much, you condense the time, right? So by chance, right, say right now I'm in a scene with you guys and I pick this leg up, but I kick the bottle, right? If I was not prepared and I was not in the moment, then I would say cut because this was not supposed to happen. But that is the magic of reality, right? And so I believe that rehearsals is very, very, very important so that you kind of have control over everything in and around you, right? So that's my idea, and I feel that that goes into films or OTT or theater, anywhere this technique applies. So yeah, that's my take.
Adarsh, we want to know your process, be it theatrical film, be it OTT series, or be it an OTT film. Different medium, different directors. Tell me your process.
Do you guys know why they're smiling? Does anybody
It's
know
a
this?
it's a conversation that me and Jim and myself had on Instagram last year, where we were kind of debating about something. Uh, but I don't think I have a fixed method as such. I haven't discovered one at least. I just kind of like to go with what I've been given and then to find what my method for that particular thing would be. So, for example, the show that I shot for recently, I play a hybrid. I don't play a human, but I have the consciousness of a child. It's a sci-fi show, and I play a hybrid. So I have the consciousness of a 11-year-old child, and I thought the best thing to do that would be to go to the park next to my house and just sit there and watch children. And I realized that, and when I told this to one of my co-actors who I was chatting with, he's like, dude, if you do this in America, you'd be arrested. Like, they would probably think you're a pedophile and come and arrest you. Um, but yeah, jokes apart, I think just figuring it out on the go and like trying to be as malleable as possible. Also, as all of them said, like I feel like it so much depends on the medium, right? Like when I was in drama school, we did a 20-minute piece on this guy who's hungry and who's staring at an apple. And I did an ad for Zomato last month where I was hungry and I had to do this. बहुत भूख लगी है मुझे. So it's like so much depends on, you have 5 seconds to show you're hungry. I can't tell the director, look at my face, I'm hungry. Like he'll be like, bro, I need to know you're hungry. So you need to rub your tummy. भूख, पेट में दर्द हो रहा है. So yeah,
It's like मैं तुमसे प्यार करता हूँ,
हाँ,
ऐसा.
basically, you know, it gets suggestive. So it really depends on the medium.
Right. Sayani, the difference, and if not, what's your process?
Well, the only difference, I completely agree with Jim and Kritika, what they said. But for me, what was happening is when you do a show, it's obviously broken into episodes, and sometimes you are
Hybrid.
the hungry child. Sometimes you are doing a scene from, and you know, I remember we were shooting for Inside Edge, and there were 2 directors. So once we are doing episode 9, say scene 16, and literally from there with another director, you're going into another room doing scene 1 from episode 2. And the physical and emotional continuity is something that you have to constantly be mindful of, which can be something a little extra from than just one film, which is, you know, maybe 2 hours long, but this is actually like 4 films when you're doing 10 episodes in a series. So that, I think, is something which needs a little more concentration. That's about it, you know. And thankfully, you know, we are people who have like, there are notes, it's color coded, how every, in fact, for FOMO shots, I had like my entire, like all the scenes, every episode in terms of who I am talking to and who I'm interacting with. So every character that I was interacting with had colors. So I know that, you know, this is like pink is this person, and you know, so how do I do that? So, you know, there cannot be one method. People who are method actors historically also don't have. The only method is you figure out what your method is for that particular character or that particular kind of storytelling, like Jim was saying, because every filmmaker also has a different language, so you have to adapt. And one of the biggest things as an actor that you need to do every day is that Taha was talking about rehearsals, and I mean, I love a rehearsal. I'm told that you're the only person out of the entire cast who's asking for a workshop, because nobody's willing to give dates. But it's amazing because before you go on set, the exploration, it's the excavation when you're trying to find and explore and find different things. That's the most joyful part for me as an actor. But having said that, I just did a Punjabi film, and there was no script. And I just kept asking for it. And the first day of shoot, the second day of shoot, and everyone was like, "Arey, aap to bahut badhiya hai, aap to kar lenge."
मैडम करावांगे ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ कोई चिंता नहीं.
Exactly. अरे आप तो कर लेंगे. I said, नहीं करने के लिए मुझे script चाहिए. And I was also creating a different syntax of the language I was talking, So it was a mix of Hindi and Punjabi and Bangla and, things like that. So I was like, you have to give me the
Hybrid.
dialogues. Hybrid. Exactly, hybrid. But I sort of, first day of shoot, I was really anxious. I was like, I'm feeling underprepared. Second day of shoot, I was a little less anxious after 3 meditations. And the third day of shoot, I just gave up and I was like, you know what? This is what the process is for this particular film. I just need to trust myself, trust my instincts, trust my craft also, and just surrender and try to see what I can create. And when I saw, the rushes at dubbing, and I was like, I can't believe I did that. So it's amazing to also be able to surrender. And I think that's a skill, and it is a skill, because people like us who like to be over-prepared finds it slightly difficult, and I can talk for myself, to completely give in. And when you trust the process, I think the process gives you a lot as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I was thinking, No, it's tricky because yes, ideal situation, you get the script in advance, you can really rehearse, you can practice. Even if they don't want to rehearse, you can rehearse. Yeah. You can sit, learn your lines, try them in different ways, play with the things that I was talking about of the layering, etc. But what you were saying about certain schedules being so insane, like Rocket Boys, you'd be 25 and then you'd have to put on a fat suit and prosthetics and be 62, and then you'd go back to being about 45, and scenes ranging from the first season all the way to the end of the second season, because they shot both together. So it's one of those things where if you haven't done the preparation that you're talking about well in advance, I don't think I'm skilled enough to be able to jump between those 3 modes cleanly or believably, or to a level that I would enjoy to watch. So like, what does it mean for a character to become 40 years older within a matter of an hour and a half?
100%.
It's quite odd.
Yeah. So that's what, it is dependent on what you are doing, for that particular project. For something like Rocket Boys, I can't even imagine not being prepped and going, because everyone needs to know and be on the same page, right? Unlike this film that I'm talking about, it was probably okay because, and also it was comedy, and and they like to be spontaneous. And they're like, "Arey madam, spontaneous." And I said, but spontaneous ab tabhi ho sakte ho jab aap prepped ho. Mujhe wahi lagta hai, the more the stronger your foundation is of preparation, the more spontaneous, the more you can play. So yeah.
बिल्कुल. और प्रेप की बात चली रही है. आई थिंक फीडबैक भी बहुत मायने रखती है. जब आपका प्रोजेक्ट रिलीज होता है, उसके बाद एक्टर इवॉल्व भी होते हैं बेस्ड ऑन देयर ऑडियंसेस लव एंड रिएक्शन. आप सबसे एक रिक्वेस्ट है, ऑल दी स्कूल फ्रंट बेंचर्स दैट आई सी, यू गाइज आर मोर पार्टिसिपेटिव दैन द बैक बेंचर्स. इफ एट एनी टाइम यू हैव एनीथिंग टू आस्क this school panel, you can always raise your hand once they are finished speaking, and I will make sure that I ask your question if you think it adds value, because we all are here as one family of cinema lovers, and I want to make it more interactive. Yes, ma'am, you had a question.
Yeah, I'll go.
Do we have a mic? क्या बात है यार, हमारे एक्टर्स के लिए जोरदार तालियां. एक नहीं 2 खड़े हो गए माइक देने के लिए. क्या बात है. Yes, ma'am. Your name and your question, and to who is this question?
My name is Rebecca, and my question is to all of the actors here. So, while getting into a role, do you all, so like as we all know, like you have to put yourself into the situation to get into the role. So, is there any role that you've got attached to and it took you a long time to get out of it? Have you like put yourself in a compact place for it or anything like that?
Should we start with?
Yeah,
do you
I
wanna
played
ask
a
this
serial
first?
killer and I still. No, not really.
Yeah, Adarsh, would you want to answer that?
I can't stop looking at kids.
You wouldn't know even if I was.
You know, I did a film called Margarita with a Straw, and both Kalki and I had to obviously work on the physicality for a long time, and I didn't have much time after I was cast because I only had like a month of preparation. Kalki was, on that chair for 6 months and things like that. And I played a visually impaired person. So through the film, I did something with my eyes because I didn't want to apply lenses. So something like one eyeball would go a little to the right, like that. And it's a strange thing, but I think I did it for so long while filming.
I want to see it. I want to see it. Like cockeyed.
No, it's not cockeyed. It's not cockeyed. So only the right eye goes to the left, but left eye stays straight. So I did it, and sometimes, and because even after the screening, a lot of people. What? What, Jim? Sir?
We're trying it. We're trying it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
some people, like I remember coming out of the screening, and Mr. Hirani, for example, I'm not dropping names, but they refused to believe that I wasn't either blind or didn't use a lens, and I was like, no, it's okay. But the funny part is my eyes got really used to doing that. And even outside, when I'm meeting somebody for dinner or something like that, suddenly mid-conversation, my eye would become like that. So that was really strange. My body was reacting in a different way. And sometimes Kalki's hand would also like be in a certain way. So I think, your body sort of, it's amazing what the body can do. And it sort of picks up and it becomes part of the muscle memory, which is quite funny. But yeah, nothing apart from that.
And one of you has a similar kissa, kahani, incident? Mustache is still there.
So, a really great
I mean, the
mustache.
mustache doesn't define the character.
Oh.
But as far as your question is concerned, I guess this kind of when people fall into the so-called character is when they kind of lock themselves up. Like the person that at least the story that I remember was of Ritik sir when he was doing Guzarish. Sanjay sir was telling me about it and how he basically locked himself up and just lied down the whole day and many days and just and then when you try to use the so-called method acting, I'm not a very major avid follower of it, but if I think that when you fall into that kind of thing, then probably, but I have not faced something like that where I've fallen into a character and I couldn't get out. I think we are professionals, at least I think we should be professionals, and it's a job, and end of the day, we have to go back and live life. We have families to attend to, we have problems at home, you can't just be in your character. So I think that's a professional attitude. You need to prepare, go, do your job, and get back to life, really.
Fantastic. Thank you for the question,
so
and
much,
thank you,
sir.
Taha. Thank you, Sayani. We'll take question after I finish my questions because मेरे को भी बुलाया गया है कुछ काम करने के लिए, पर आपका मैं पूछूंगा. Last question from my side. Because we're talking about the coexistence now, as we all say, both will coexist, and there is an audience for theatrical films and for OTT. As an actor, like I said, feedback is very important. When you're doing a live play, you get live reactions and the live feedback instantly. When it's a theater film, you go to the theater to see audience reaction. What do you do when it's content on OTT? How do you get to know the audience reaction?
Let's start with Sayani now.
Sayani.
The other way.
What do you do? How do you see the reaction when it comes to OTT of your audience?
Yeah, that's one thing you don't. The only way you can is DMs, and it's lovely. It's quite sweet, and sometimes it's also nice because they really go out of their way to write these long, messages that, sometimes they've moved you. So yeah, and sometimes when you bump into people, at the airport or outside the changing room, at at a clothing store. But that whole thing of being in a theater and feeling the energy, but also for me, I would hate it sometimes, because sometimes, I know there's a really silent moment and somebody's chomping on their popcorn or nachos. I'm like, stay quiet, don't chew while I'm doing this really sensitive scene. So for me, I was like, I wanted to control everyone and be like, don't breathe, just keep watching, do not even blink, So I mean, I'm okay with not seeing the reaction as well on OTT.
I'm actually going to be sounding extremely rude. We're running out of terrible time. So Karan, can we please clap for Karan quickly for asking the right questions? For somebody who just raised their hand, trust me, one day we will get our opportunity. Okay, I promise. I swear, I promise. Okay, I'll make sure justice will come to you, my friend. Can we please put our hands up together for Gupta Saab, who's phenomenal
Gupta
with her
Sahab.
work, with her ideologies, for Adarsh ji, for being so amazing with singing and acting, for Taha, who's much more than his good looks, for Jim, who's just gotten the best captions on Instagram, for Kritika Kamra, who's basically just about everything. She's fabulous, and we know that. So a few questions. Thankfully, such things happen because of sponsors, and there are some cool questions from the sponsors for this very cool panel. My quick few questions for Taha and Adarsh. Taha, we'll go with you first. मैं आपको शब्द दूंगी, आपको मुझे बताना है ये चीज़ आपको ज़्यादा पसंद है या कम. So you say more or less.
Okay.
For example, if I had to say flowers, you can say more. More. Superb. 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 Frangipani all the way. Superb. Chalo. Okay. First, bike rides.
Less.
Less.
Bike rides.
Bike rides को बुरा लग गया है और रो रहे हैं कोने में. Ice cream.
Me? Still
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
Less. I don't eat sweets.
Okay. Wow. Why? Sorry. Monsoon.
More.
Eavesdropping.
Less.
That's a trick one. Watching a movie on your day off.
I definitely more, but I watch movies all the time.
Yeah. Soft drinks.
Less.
Okay. Good job for Taha. Taha के लिए तालियां. Taha के लिए तहे दिल से. Can I put Adarsh in a spot? Adarsh आपके लिए ये सारे अभी शब्द, and you're supposed to say more or less. Yeah. क्या मतलब मैं blush करने लग जाती हूँ. I just don't know what happens. बड़े पर्दे वाली पिक्चर. More or less.
More.
90s की पिक्चर.
More. Depends on which 90s ke pictures, but
Which one are we talking about? As soon as we've spoken about this, which is the film which has come into your head?
when you say 90s, I think of Jo Jeeta Wo Sikandar.
Oh my God, the cult. Sanju, Ratan, everybody. Baramulla ki ghat. How can you even miss that? Okay, coming back to OTT, more or less.
More.
Mumbai,
More.
singing,
More.
acting,
More.
most.
Most.
Pani Puri,
Oh, more. But Golgappa and Puchka, most.
Gupta साहब का yes निकला है इसमें. Real gold jewelry, more or less?
Less.
No, it doesn't matter to you. Okay, last one. Mehendi.
Mehendi, I've never tried, but
Yeah?
maybe, yeah. Maybe, I don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah.
ठीक है. Okay. Claps for my man. अब कुछ सवाल जो हैं हमारे साथ में. जिम जी, आपके लिए सवाल है. जिम जी. Say Jim Jammy. Jim, this question's for you. 3 things that you do not compromise on when you sign a script. Which are those 3 things?
3 things I don't
Compromise on.
about the script or
While signing a script. I mean, not like the color of the pen or like the time of the day, but like something that you really keep in your head when you sign a script, when you get onto a project. Which are those things that you don't compromise with?
Everything winds up being a compromise.
Oh no. Why are you so honest and wise?
Okay, all right, okay. A certain accepted base pay for my spot boy.
Yeah.
Uh, hmm? uh, like 12 hours maximum. Should
Yeah,
be less.
yeah.
I should like the script, you know. I should like it.
Yeah, we thought it was basic, but it's you can't compromise on it for sure. That's gym for you guys. Beautiful answers. Thank you.
Gym
Kritika, sorry, Kritika, ये आपके लिए 3 things you do not compromise on when it comes to a road trip. आप road trip पे जा रही हैं, 3 चीजें हैं जो आप compromise बिल्कुल नहीं करेंगी. वो कौन सी 3 चीजें होंगी?
A great playlist.
Great playlist means first top 3 songs are which ones? Chaiya Chaiya Dil Chahta Hai or like what?
Not really.
अरे अरे धक्का लग गया मुझे एकदम से. एक कोई टॉप कोई chill. उड़े खुले आसमान.
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
Wow, lovely.
Yeah.
And the
Or like
second
some
one?
Rahman, Imtiaz Ali, that vibe.
समझ गई मैं.
Yeah.
बिल्कुल मैं आपकी रूह को मैं मतलब मैंने
समझ
परख
गई
लिया
आप.
बिल्कुल.
Yes.
दूसरी चीज जो आप नहीं compromise कर सकती हैं?
A decent driver because I'm horrible.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
बहुत कम लोग हैं इस honesty के साथ में. Guys, कृतिका कामरा के लिए तालियां. It's not the ladies in her, by the way. So stop saying this. वो ladies driver होगी. Coming back to which is the third thing?
Not. Sanitizer. Because
Sanitizer.
of the lack of public loose for women in this country, man. No, that's why only. Yeah. Huh? Exactly.
Jhadi
So
ke
pani, sanitizer, best.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the safest.
Best. Yeah.
Open
Guys,
both the doors.
कृतिका के लिए तालियां, सैनिटाइजेशन के लिए इन जनरल तालियां. स्वच्छता के 10 साल हो गए लेकिन जो कृतिका ने आज कहा है उसकी वजह से आई थिंक स्वच्छता पर ज्यादा जोर पड़ा है. So a bigger round of applause. Thank you. Now there's this beautiful thing called FEMA, which is a luxury collection of a lot of faucets and showers and everything else. And I'm just quickly going to ask you, अगर आपको अपने घर में कोई चीज चाहिए होती इसमें से तो कौन सी होती? माइक आज कर दिया चालू. थैंक यू. ये शावर है. ये फॉसेट क्या कहते हैं, बेसिन. ये जो है ये आपको स्विचेस किसके लिए? शावर के लिए. So out of these, which one thing would you want in your? Yes, Gupta ji. The shower looks pretty hot and tempting.
Yeah, it looks like a lamp, no?
Yeah, na? And suddenly you've got like the spotlight on you and suddenly there's like water out of it. So
No, I'm not feeling that.
No.
I have to get up, guys. Is this like, where does, maybe this. I
Yeah?
think that.
Yeah,
It's clean.
yeah.
Yeah.
super, super. गुप्ता साहब ने अपना दिमाग बना लिया है. आदर्श जी नहीं होता अनफॉर्चुनेटली. इससे क्या होता है, ये जो शावर है, शावर का जो प्रभाव है वो कम या ज्यादा हो सकता है. But
उसकी सख्त जरूरत है. मेरे
सख्त
घर पे
जरूरत.
एक ही स्पीड पे शावर गिर रहा है बहुत टाइम से.
That's just.
और मैं परेशान हूँ.
There's a reason why Destiny had to bring this to us today. So this one here.
That's
yeah,
it.
Superb. Taha? Yeah.
Are these the only choices?
What else do you want? Do you want like a good shower playlist? Kritika and I will sit and make one for
बाकी
you.
चीजें भी धोते हैं भाई. Yeah.
Yes.
Do they have a golden jet spray?
FEMA, golden
Yes.
jet spray. Yes.
A golden jet spray. That's what we're
Yes.
talking about.
Yes.
You asked for a golden jet spray?
Why not?
I'm from
Why
Dubai,
not?
bro.
Why not?
Huh?
Everything is golden.
Everything is golden, bro.
Okay. वो अब जिस प्रकार से कह रहे हैं ऐसा लग रहा है वो आके सारा काम भी कर देंगे आपके लिए. Which I hope is not happening. Jim, anything that you like from here?
I think matching golden jet sprays all across the board.
It's so cool.
At least
Very
4,
nonchalant talking about a
5.
toilet accessory. That's amazing. Kritika, is there anything that you like from here? इससे पानी पीने का पानी भी निकलता है, सिर्फ jet spray नहीं है. Is that right? Yes. Yeah.
No, I'll go for that light looking shower.
Yeah.
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 I don't mind.
करण आप भी अपना चॉइस बता दो, बड़े लेफ्ट आउट से लग रहे हो आप, बताइए.
मैं आई थिंक आई प्रेफर जिसका वो क्या कहते हैं आप शावर का जो प्रेशर है वो चेंज कर सकते हो लाइक आदर्श
This one,
मेंशनड
yeah.
या
Guys, these guys
Much
have made their
needed.
choices. It was a very difficult day, but they have made their choices.
Yeah.
Jim wants to say something.
Is it usually just one of those, or do you do two, or do you angle three or something? The shower heads. One. You can do as many. One, it looks a bit.
Yeah.
It's on.
पूरा
It's too
सेटअप चाहिए
much.
हमें.
जिम और फीमा की बात हम डेफिनेटली करवाएंगे इस कॉन्वर्जेशन के बाद में, बट ये जो आपने पेशेंस दिखाया है यहाँ पे और जो आपने अपने अपने ऑनेस्ट चॉइसेस बताए उसके लिए तालियां गाइस, थैंक यू वेरी मच. Also, to be really honest, I think for the entertainment that they provide us, I think whatever you clap right now is not enough. So just prove it to yourselves and them that they really bring out the best in them, which is why we can bring out the best in us. Can we please have some plaques which are going to be offered by Karan to Kritika, to Jim, to Taha, to Adarsh, and to Gupta Saab.
Thank you so much once again. Thank you to the lovely panel for joining us and for such an interesting discussion. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you everyone. Thank you so much.